The Salween Peace Park in Myanmar is a community-led conservation project with environmental justice and cultural preservation at its centre. The Peace Park aims to reflect the core aspirations of the Karen people.
However, the peace and prosperity of this community has been threatened by conflict and unsustainable practices in the aim of economic growth.
The Peace Park was envisioned to protect and preserve the community, land and biodiversity, which is vital to the livelihoods of the Karen people.
The Salween Peace Park is located in southeastern Myanmar, which is covered by forests, mountains and farmland. The park is located along the Salween River, which plays a central role in the livelihoods of the people and the health of the environment.
Since 1949, the Karen have been fighting for self-governance. The Myanmar government does not recognise the land rights and cultural practices of the Karen and conducts through military violence. However, more recently, the main challenges derived from logging, mining, infrastructure projects and proposed mega hydropower dams.
After the creation of the Kasan in 2001, communities came together to preserve native territories. But this was not enough. The people wanted the community conservation efforts to be recognised.
One of the main reasons for the establishment of the park was a direct opposition to the Hatki Dam in the river basin, a long-term proposed project of which the construction site lies directly at the park's southern tip.
In 2017, a referendum was held where each villager was asked to support the creation of the Peace Park. The goal of 75% approval was met, and in 2018 the park was formed. This map shows how the Peace Park is structured. It is divided into 4 main conservation sections: community forest, wildlife sanctuaries, reserve forest, and core customary territories. But this park was not created by community spirit alone. There are key players integral to making this transformation possible.
Saeng Toa is an indigenous Karen leader. Himself and members of the Kasan conceived the idea of the Peace Park. They decided they must aim to no longer just protect small areas, but expand and work at a landscape scale to conserve ancestral forests, mountains and rivers. But Saeng Toa, as well as the park, remains unrecognised and ostracised by the Myanmar government.
The governance of the park is strongly decentralised, focusing on decision-making and power at every level with both men and women. This shows how transformative the program is with power, as it has shifted from a very centralised role to a more democratic system, gaining greater social justice and reversing unequal power relations. Meeting yearly, the General Assembly is responsible for the overall coordination, the development of long-term strategies and targets for the territory.
The vision for the Salween Peace Park is to demonstrate what truly good governments could be and provide a people-centred alternative to top-down militarised development. There are 3 development aims: peace and self-determination, environmental integrity and cultural survival.
The indigenous Korean communities took it into their own hands to create peace and self-determination. This was through the formal recognition of territorial rights and practices, supporting post-conflict reconstruction and livelihood restoration, which allowed displaced communities to return to ancestral territories and kinship networks.
The indigenous Karen community lives interconnected with nature and are guided by the belief system known as the core. Core is a sacred relationship with the spirits of the land and is a governing system that dictates how each segment of nature should be managed and preserved. Using the core as a foundation, the Peace Park aims to preserve the teak forests, free-flowing rivers, sacred mountains, wildlife and diverse farmlands. By having this environmental integrity ingrained into the workings of the Peace Park, this has stopped many destructive industries.
The park has become the heart and strongest remaining area of Karen culture and key to its revitalisation. A cultural curriculum is being put in place in schools to aid the strengthening of Karen communities. The schools will provide vocational training to preserve traditional skills, such as textile weaving, bamboo handicrafts and blacksmithing. Many Karen have moved to the internet to express and bring awareness to their culture and empower their own identities. This can be found in the form of songs and educational videos. The park achieved justice by successfully providing environmental protection to wildlife and social stability and integrity to the Karen by creating a place of belonging and space to preserve culture by passing down traditions. They managed to put power back into their own hands and create community governments, a remarkable transformation for a community who has been rejected and ostracised. The park was also able to make a global contribution by protecting some of the world's most endangered animal and plant species, and by protecting an area of this size, the park contributes to global efforts of climate change mitigation.
It was the collective power of the community who pushed for transformation in the area. However, in February 2021, there was a military coup which led to a series of deadly airstrikes on the villages in the Peace Park. This caused destruction of property, death, and led to many fleeing. The people now do not have the power to uphold its boundaries. So, what will happen to the park?
Overall, the park is the gold standard, which all community-based transformative projects should aim towards.
As it puts the power back into the community, environmental justice is at its heart and upholds culture and traditions for future generations.
But it is threatened due to political instability, showing how even the most transformative and just schemes are vulnerable.